Hi everybody, I'm Trudy, One Grounded Angel, as you might otherwise know me, and this is the weekly angel card reading video I do each and every week, and this is for the week beginning August the 6th through to the 12th, 2018. Took me a minute there to think. So, big news happening this week. On Saturday the 11th, we have yet another eclipse. This is a partial solar eclipse, and it coincides with the new moon in Leo. So if you're feeling like we've had a lot of eclipses lately, you're right. This is the third and final in this particular eclipse series. And it's happening on the Leo-Aquarius axis. So those two opposing signs have been taking turns with these eclipses. The energy around them has been very strong, and if you are one of those signs and you feel like you've been jerked around a lot by life right now, I feel for you because it has been rough for a lot of people. So this Leo one is the new moon, and new moons are all about starting something new, sowing seeds, focusing on the goals. And everything in astrology moves in 6-month cycles. So think about what you want over the next 6 months. And, the other thing I should tell you really is that with Leo, I mean, it depends on where it falls on your chart as to how this impacts you. But Leo is a passionate sign. It's a very creative sign, very romantic, a little bit theatrical. Remember that Leo is ruled by the sun, and we have a partial solar eclipse. No coincidence. So that energy around the sun, which is about confidence, about being seen, about almost in a performance sort of way, is significant. So something that you have no intention of becoming public might go public. Say you send an email to someone and suddenly it goes viral. We're in Mercury retrograde, so hopefully you're being mindful of your communications anyway around this time. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean maybe you make a suggestion for the company and it gets sent around the whole company, or something like that can happen. What I mean is notoriety, really. And fame is a difficult word to use in this kind of modern era where people are actually aspiring to fame. I don't know why. But, in terms of me doing this channel, I have no desire to be seen, but it is something that I was drawn to do for the messages. So I have to put up with the discomfort of being seen for that reason. But, I might suddenly have a rush of followers or something like that around that Leo kind of new moon. But as I say, it does depend on what's going on for your sign. So let me start shuffling the cards for Monday, the 6th of August. We'll see. Oh, that was a really awkward shuffle, but we got what we needed. This is TikTok. This is the card deck that every time I post, people rave about the beautiful illustrations. So I have started, whenever I put it up on Instagram, I always tag the illustrator because she's so talented. Oh, did I mention creativity is associated with Leo? I can't remember. It's a good time for starting a creative project anyway, or something, a real passion project. Sorry for backtracking there. So TikTok, if you feel like you're constantly running out of time, this card is really going to resonate for you. It reminds you have enough time to do the things you need. If you feel like, because that sense of running out of time or urgency can really lead us to make some bad decisions. We'll say yes to everybody who asks us out if we feel like there aren't enough potential partners out there for us, or we're running out of time to get our goals to happen. So we might, respond to offers that we know in our heart of hearts aren't right for us, but we're scared that, I've got to hurry up and make a call or else I'm going to miss out. That sort of FOMO idea, and this is saying, look, just take your time. Don't rush things, because you have enough time to do what you need to do. And when I tune into the energy of this card, it's a real pressure kind of energy that comes through, super, super unhelpful. And that's one thing I talk to people about when they say to me, I don't understand when I'm getting messages from my intuition and when it's just from the voice of fear or my ego. If something's trying to rush you, it's not your intuition. Your intuition always knows you have enough time. So be mindful of what time means for you with this card. It might not necessarily be around reassuring you've got enough time. It might be about the way you're using time. Perhaps you're spending time on things that don't really serve you. Social media, that would be me. Not that social media is bad, but it's about making sure we're not wildly out of balance in any areas. Where are we spending time, and a lot of time, in ways that are detracting from things we actually want to do and which make statements about us which are not true. For example, if you looked at my life, you might conclude that I am someone who, I could really be defined by the use of my time on social media in an adverse way, instead of being defined for the things that I actually want to have an impact, like the ways that I'm helping my clients. How could I spend more time actually building up my business or actually relaxing and getting a better balance in my life, so I'm not quite so work focused. Anyway, those are just examples. Obviously, trust your intuition and what this means for you. So we're shuffling for Tuesday, 7th. Oh, flipping this up. Beginnings. Beautiful. The first thing I noticed about this card is it's got a bare tree on it. We're in winter here in the Southern Hemisphere, so this is totally appropriate. The idea of trees losing their leaves is so powerful, because if we think of that as a loss, we're looking at it wrong, because the whole nature is beautiful the way trees lose their leaves, because they make space, they're letting go of what's no longer serving them and making space for new things to grow. And it's the same with us. So this reminds us about those sort of cycles of, new growth, blooming, letting things die and fall away, and maybe this card is prompting you to think about where you're at on that kind of trajectory. Oh, let's blame Mercury for me mispronouncing words today. I'm sure it's nothing to do with me at all. Beginnings. So this might be asking you, in line with that new moon, beautiful energy that comes through on Saturday, to be setting some goals and focusing on new beginnings instead of lamenting what you've lost or what is no longer working. I'm just getting now a message that's really significant for a lot of you. Some of you are spending time regretting what hasn't worked, or trying to force things to work that are no longer right for you, instead of focusing on this being your opportunity to build something new that is right for you. Oops. So Wednesday, I've got this message about optimism, and I've also had something else come through, which I'll just share with you. I got a message about signs. Some of you need to be aware of the signs that are going on, not in a cautious sort of way, but asking for signs for validation and for confirmation that you're on the right track, for confirmation that you've received the messages from your intuition correctly. Really, they want me to tell you that this is a really major way you can be aware of your angels helping you. Please ask for signs. Please pay attention to them. Please don't overthink it either. There is lots of messages on my website about signs. Just hit up signs in the search field and you get some info about that. But if you've been a client of mine, I've probably told you in your personal reading about different signs, because it comes up for just about everybody, even if it's not a direct card about signs, because it's such a beautiful way of us getting those messages, opening up that communication, and feeling validated that we really understand where we're going and that we really understand what they're trying to tell us. Anyway, optimism on the actual relevant card. Sometimes in the energy healing work I do, there is a specific healing process I do to target optimism, because many of us have an inbuilt kind of, or a core belief, to use a better word, around being open to good outcomes. And sometimes that's because we've been raised by parents, and not to blame them, but sometimes they operate from a place of expecting the worst but hoping for the best. And if you're going to expect the worst, you might think that's a great self-defense mechanism or great insurance policy, because it means you'll be ready. But what you're actually doing is setting in motion plans for you to fail, and that's not really what you want. So we need to be focusing on good outcomes and being optimistic about that. If you have a block around that, come and see me. I can help you with it. But really make sure that this is not going on for you, because if you are expecting the worst, or and sort of challenging the universe to prove you wrong, which I certainly have done in my life, before realizing that that's not really how it works, you're going to come unstuck. So I know I've told the story before, but Brene Brown, in one of her Oprah podcasts, like Conversations with Oprah, and I think potentially one of her books too, although I forget where I've read different things, she talks about the story of a man in his 60s who was talking to her about he didn't let his wife get too close to him, because he knew it would be really painful if he lost her. And so when she died, I believe it was a car accident, you can bet he wasn't going, oh, thank goodness it doesn't hurt too much because I protected myself. He was regretting that he didn't open up fully to her and really deepen their connection. He'd sort of kept her at arm's length, and that's way more painful than trying to protect yourself. Than trying to, open up fully and then experiencing that pain that happened. So really make sure you're not trying to protect yourself or hold yourself back. Of course, it's important that we are not diving in with our eyes closed and we're not taking risks or going against our intuition. But if you are stepping into something that you know is right for you, but you're still trying to hold on to the handrail, make sure that's not because you're expecting things to go horribly wrong for you and you want to be protected and be able to take action and get yourself out if that comes to pass. So the card is asking you to be optimistic about getting a good result and things working out for you. It doesn't mean they necessarily will. There are no guarantees. And maybe that's simply because, as Caroline Meese says, what you're aiming for is not something that belongs to you. When we lose things, sometimes it's because they didn't belong to us. They're a dream that belonged to someone else, a relationship that wasn't actually right for us, or a job that no longer served us, etc. So Thursday, I don't know why, but Thursday is my favourite day of the week. I love all days of the week though, because there's not much point hating on any particular day. I'm talking to you all anti-Monday people. On not much point hating on Monday. It happens all the time. Just go with it. Thursday, focus on divine and perfect health. Now, when we're talking about health with this card, we are talking about physical health. But as you know, if you've watched my videos before, everything is connected. So for sure, this could have ramifications for your emotional and your mental health, not to mention your spiritual health. But try to focus directly on your physical health here. In some ways, this card does speak to being positive about your potential or your capacity for healing. If people have a real sort of, I get a cold every year, or, those people, I don't know if you guys have this, but in many different places that I've worked, there are always people wandering around in winter, which is when colds and flu are more prevalent, are going, I think I'm getting sick. I think I'm coming down with something. Everyone's sick at the moment. Oh, it's only a matter of time before I catch something. You're actually instructing your body to get sick. You're instructing your immune system to lower its defenses. Don't be saying things like that. It's so bad. Even if you don't get sick, you are lowering your protective capacity there. Do not say, I think I'm getting sick. And I'm going to clear that away too, because I'm just kidding, universe. That's not what I'm saying. Your words have meaning. They will attract your experiences. If you are focused on this is going to happen to me, it probably will happen to you, or you will be impaired in some way. Even saying, I think, is it Louise Hay? Someone talks about how never wish someone break a leg. I know it's an old tradition, but you're wishing misfortune on that person because the universe doesn't know whether you're joking or not, or whether it's just an expression. Be really careful about the messages you send around your health. Now, that doesn't mean pretending things are fine when they're clearly not. If you are unwell and you need to rest, of course, do it. But be careful about the energy you hold around that and the messages you're sending, and your words are always a reflection of your energy. If you believe that it's inevitable that you're going to get sick, that's not going to help you. If you believe that you're destined to stay sick, or nothing ever works out for me, or things keep going wrong for me, all those sort of things are going to help create a reality that you do not want. So be really careful. The other message about that card is about just focusing generally on your health. I know this sounds vague, but for those of you who aren't in that sort of situation just described, where you've got negative outcomes around your health, this card does have a more sort of ground roots level message about focusing on your health. Where have you neglected your health lately? Have you been sacrificing sleep in favor of doing things that actually aren't that important? Whereas if you took the time to rest, you'd be more productive anyway. Maybe you've let your nutrition slide. I know I have. So it is asking you to put that focus back on your physical health, because without it, you don't have much at all. So Friday, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I just want to mention as well with that health card, I don't mean to belittle what you might be going through, because I am aware there are people watching this who have chronic health conditions. I'm not trying to say that you've caused it, which I would never say. I do not believe that to be the case. But I am talking about the ways you might be perpetuating a situation or holding yourself back from letting your body heal. So please don't think I'm being flippant about your situation or your condition. It's not my intention. I have to try and be really general with these messages, because so many people are watching this with different circumstances, different life stages, different countries. So please try to be aware that I'm being necessarily general. So Friday, interesting, you are healed. We've had already another card around healing that was around physical health. So it's very likely this is also speaking to physical healing because it's talking about believing that you can heal. So perhaps it could be emotional healing here for you. This card, because I know the books around these cards so well, I do know this card is designed for all types of healing, but we have to view them in the context of where they're coming out. Because this one was just before, I do wonder if it was more physical. Interestingly, I should have pointed out here, I don't know how well you can see, but that is Archangel Raphael's symbol there. And it's also the symbol of modern medicine. That's where it kind of derived from. So that's, anyway, an interesting by the by. So again, you're being asked to believe that you can heal. If you think this is too hard, I'm just destined to keep attracting the wrong type of partner, I can't heal from this pattern, you know, you are actually going to stay stuck. So really believe that you have the capacity to heal. Everything can be healed. The more work I do on energy healing, the more I see it. Nothing's stuck unless we want it to be. And sometimes we do that because it's easier. A question that my spiritual coach teaches me is when things are going wrong, how we perceive them to be wrong, or they're not going well, let's put it that way, rather than loading it with that sort of defeatist kind of language. The question to say is not why. The question to ask is not why is this happening to me, it's why is this happening for me. If you can look for the positive outcomes that can help, and equally if you can look for what you're getting out of it, you might start to see why it's happening. As an example, sometimes people attract illness or injury, because they're in a job they really hate and they want to get out but they're too scared. So suddenly they get injured and they can't do that job. Not a coincidence. So that's an example of a way that we can attract bad health. And it's also I think an example of sometimes when we continue to stay in a state of non-healing, it doesn't really make sense, but when we continue to resist healing, there might be because we're getting something from that is serving some part of us. You know, there's so many examples I could give here, but I won't do it because it's you know, time consuming, and I know they don't apply to a lot of people, but sometimes the conditions we have are trying to teach us something. My knee flares up from time to time. Knees are about flexibility. That's a cue for me to look at where I'm being inflexible. And sometimes it comes up because we get something out of it. We don't have to participate in this event we don't want to do, or you know, suddenly we are exempt from attending the event that we were dreading, such as, you know, traveling to some, you know, family gathering. Saturday, be strong. So I used to interpret this card as being just generally about needing to remember how strong you are and encouraging you that you can get through whatever you've been situation you're going through. And that message may well be relevant. Do so well here with the whole speaking thing. That message may well be relevant to you, but there is a deeper meaning here about sorry to sound like a broken record, but about outcomes. So it's about strength of mind as well. And again, those ideas about having control over your thoughts are super important. So what you expect is what you attract, etc. So making sure that you have that strong mindset in terms of, it doesn't mean pretending things are good when they're not, but that's total denial. That's not going to help you. But no, okay, things are crappy right now. I'm going to let myself feel whatever I'm going to feel, but I'm strong enough to get through this, and I know it's not going to last. And I know that this is not how the story ends, etc. So it's assuring you, I'll give you more information about this when I post it on social media. It is reminding you to be strong in your thoughts, as well as just in terms of your kind of capacity for moving through a situation. Does that sound vague? It probably does. I apologise. Oh, well, a card just jumped out straight away. I love it when that happens. You know what to do. Very, very straight to the point here. This card is telling you that you already know intuitively what you need to do, but you're doubting it and saying, I don't know, because you don't want to do it, or because it seems too hard, or because you just generally don't know how to recognize your intuition, which is a very common response. So it's not to say, you know, come on, get your life together. But it is saying, hey, those messages you're receiving, they're right, and you need to follow through with them, even though it might seem uncomfortable. People often say, oh, I don't want to do this work and healing or whatever because it's so hard and it involves me potentially letting people down. And my response to that is always, it is much harder to stay stuck than it is to heal. So there's something good on the other side of this. If it does seem difficult, not trying to go through it, but committing to going through it and doing what you need to do is going to get you that happy outcome. So have I got the whole week? Yes, that's it. Can't count to 7, obviously. Looking at the week, we have some messages around resilience and strength, which is really great to see. New beginnings, and very much this idea about our expectations in terms of our outcomes, that kind of relationship with the whole optimism and the focus, and around our health in particular, around our focus on those outcomes. So I'll post these on social media. My Instagram, if you're not already following me, and I'm going to assume you are because that's the most likely avenue for people to find these videos, that's at One Grounded Angel. And the Facebook page as well, One Grounded Angel. I also have each daily card on there as well. I'm getting a message I need to explain my name to you. I don't know why. The reason I call myself One Grounded Angel is because there was already a group called Grounded Angels. I didn't want to, in America, I didn't want to conflict with them. And I didn't want to be seen as an expert. When you put people on a pedestal, they will fall. And we see this happening to spiritual leaders all the time. When people look up to them and idolize them, they're kind of going to come crashing down. And so my whole thing is, I'm not the one, I am just one. And there are plenty of spiritual leaders out there. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning like you guys. My aim is to teach you how to tune into your own intuition and do this work yourself. But also I'm here to hold your hand through that as well, and to work in a very focused form with those of you who need special healing around particular wounding or, core beliefs or whatever. And I don't consider myself an angel. The angel in the name is because I needed to get across what I do, which is working with the angels. I'm not an angel, and so sometimes people will call me an angel, but I'm really not. I'm very human, and I need to be so that I can communicate the messages to you guys in a very human way. Anyway, so that's the story of my name, and leading into that, nice segue here, my website is www.onegroundedangel.com. There is a bookings form on there if you want to reach me. Now, I'm going away, some housekeeping. At the end of August, I'm going away for just over a month. I'm not going to be available. Haven't yet figured out what I'm going to do about the videos, but I'll let you know about that. So if you do want to book in with me for a reading or for a healing session or for both, well, actually, I only offer the readings combined with a healing session now. Anyway, hop to it, because I'm going to be shutting up shop for a little while. But I'll be back, and I will be holding space for you guys to do all the work you need to do while I'm away, and for me to come back and step back into it right away. So also holding space for myself. Take care. Have a terrific week. Hold tight through this eclipse energy. It will get better, I promise you. And be aware if you are going through heavy emotions, yes, it will pass, and sometimes there might be something in there you need to know. So really be prepared to ask the questions about that. Take care, and I will talk to you next week.